What I mean, and the others I refer to generally mean, is a loss of confidence in currencies, the dollar. And it's not the case that people are going to lose confidence in the dollar and the euro is going to reign supreme. They're all in the same life, but the euro, the dollar, the Aussie dollar, the Canadian dollar, they're all going to go down at once because they're all in the same lifeboat. And you'll need to restore confidence, and the way to do that is with gold. And so you basically have to reset the international monetary system. And there are a number of ways to do it. And I've sketched out the different ways in my book, Aftermath. So you don't have to put a stake in the ground. Here's how it's going to be done. You just say, well, here are 3 or 4 ways it might be done. But they all fall under the heading of the Great Reset. Now, you're right. Davos, the World Economic Forum, they have a theme every year. And by the way, they're a great contrary leading indicator. Figure out what they're doing at World Economic Forum and do the opposite, and you'll do very well. You'll do very well for yourself, because they always get it wrong. The elites always get it wrong.
Yeah.
And there are reasons for that, because they all talk to each other. They need some new friends. But they're calling it the Great Reset. But what they mean is pretty much the opposite of what I just described. This is really globalization 2.0. So from 1989 to, I'll say, 2008, globalization was like a runaway train. It was, highly integrated supply chains, no borders, no tariffs, outsource your stuff all over the world. And who cares where the jobs end up? Put them where the cheapest labor is, and just cut costs and make profits. And it was leading to, not all at once, of course, but it was leading to global taxation, which is still on the table, thanks to our friends at the IMF and the OECD. World money, which is the IMF special drawing right, the SDR, and ultimately world government through some combination of the United Nations or, again, the IMF. That was the goal. They knew it would take, perhaps decades more to get there. Soros is behind it. Well, all the elites are. They're all in it together. But that got blown up, completely blown up, because of the damage of 2008. So since then, what have we seen? We've seen, in the United States, at least America first, we've seen nationalist leaders succeed. Well, Boris Johnson in the UK, Donald Trump in the US. We've seen more extreme versions of that. Modi in India, Erdogan in Turkey, et cetera. But the point is, so globalization was, kind of all the rage for about 30 years. It crashed and burned in 2008. It has been succeeded in many cases by nationalist leaders, or at least leaders who say, look, I'll trade with you. We can invest, but I'm putting my country first. But now that's run into its own problems because of the global depression. And our Rahm Emanuel might not be a household word in Australia, but former congressman, former mayor of Chicago, and chief of staff to President Obama. And in the depths of the 2008-2009 recession, Rahm Emanuel said, never let a good crisis go to waste. And the author Naomi Klein calls this the Shock Doctrine. But basically, the elites always have an agenda. They always have a wish list. Here's what we want to do. But most of the time, it's on the shelf. But every now and then, they get to take it down off the shelf and ram it down everyone's throat. And those times are when there's a crisis, when an acute financial crisis, a banking crisis, a war, et cetera. When people are fearful, understandably, they're confused. They're looking for leadership. And depending on the leaders at the time, they say, well, I've got just the answer. And they pull this one world plan off the shelf and implement whatever they can. So this is now that we're in a new crisis, I say profoundly worse. See, it feels different than a financial crisis. A financial crisis, you're running down to the bank to get your money out. Things could collapse every day. So far, at least, this has not been a financial crisis. The banks are still standing, but it is a profound economic crisis. They're a little different because they can play out over a longer period of time, but everyone feels it, and everyone knows we're in some serious difficulty. And the elites are coming back. People are fearful. They're looking for solutions. Here we are. And their great reset is globalization 2.0, moving, kind of overthrowing the nationalist trend and moving faster and closer to a one world government. So here we have the battle of the great resets. We have the Jim Rickards Great Reset and others, I should say, which is collapse of confidence in central banks, collapse of confidence in fiscal authorities and government authorities, and the need to restore confidence. And again, there are ways to do that versus an elitist globalist theme that says No, well, confidence has been destroyed, and we have the answer, which is more world government, world taxation, et cetera. So let's see who wins. It's going to be an interesting struggle. Relations between the U.S. and China are at their lowest ebb, at least since Tiananmen Square. I was in China in 1991. I was actually in Wuhan. I went to a lot of places, but I was in Wuhan in 1991. You couldn't find an American. You couldn't buy an American. There were Aussies and Germans and Brits, and it's not like the whole country was closed, but there was a chill from 1989 to 1994. What's going on now is at least that bad, but I would say worse. Probably we're back to the Cold War. This is Cold War II. It's the currency wars, trade wars, military escalation. So go to China for a second. What are they doing? Well, they're highly confrontational in the South China Sea. They've been doing things that look like preparations to invade Taiwan. By the way, they do that a couple of times a year just to practice, just to stay in shape. But this time it looks like they might grab a couple tiny little islands without even invading Formosa. They're killing people in the Himalayas in confrontation with India. That's the most tense that's been since 1962 when they had a war. And what they're doing to the Uyghurs is a crime against humanity. They're concentration camps, organ removals from. If you're a political dissident, they strap you to a table and remove your organs without anesthetic. To feed the organ transplant industry. And then, of course, you die and they send you to a crematorium. Sound familiar? Well, that's China. Those are our friends. So I would say, yeah, keep closing the embassies. We'll close ours. Why don't we close them all and send them home and not buy their stuff? And I think there's a lot to be said for that. By the way, just a quick aside, and this will shock your viewers, but but when I say things like this, they're dead serious. I'm not trying to shock people, but I understand why people might be shocked. The evidence is good. The U.S. has not wanted to announce a firm conclusion because we don't want to get ahead of, over our skis. But the intelligence is being gathered. A lot of information is coming to the fore without being definitive, because we can't be definitive at this stage. It certainly appears that this virus leaked from the Wuhan Virological Institute, which is one of the main highest level virology laboratories, secure laboratories in China. Interesting that there are virological institutes in Wuhan and the disease broke out in Wuhan. As we say in intelligence analysis, there are no coincidences. But the point being, I'm not saying it was a bioweapon. I'm not even saying it was engineered. It could just be you're messing around with it, or it could evolve in a petri dish. There are various sources, but it looks like it came from the lab and was probably released through negligence. There's no doubt about the fact that China lied about it, covered it up. They rounded up journalists who reported it honestly. They have not been seen since, whether they're dead or just in prison, who knows, but those people have been made to disappear, etc. But it leaked out anyway. You can't, this cat was out of the bag, so to speak, and now it's spread to the United States. The U.S. has the highest number of fatalities and the highest number of infections in the world. But we got it from China, and that would not have happened if they had handled it correctly to begin with. And for that matter, invited in Australian and U.S. and French and other experts. Forget the World Health Organization. They're Chinese sock puppets, but there are good scientists around the world. And they could have kept a lid on this, and they didn't. Now, flip over to the United States. $4 trillion of lost wealth. That seems like a reasonable estimate. The stock market's come back, but real estate hasn't, and business hasn't, and unemployment hasn't. And that's kind of a back of the envelope estimate of lost wealth. So how about a lawsuit where the United States or parties in the United States sue China for criminal negligence for $4 trillion and win? Well, guess what? Everyone's like, well, how are you going to collect? Well, it turns out that China owns $1.4 trillion of U.S. Treasury notes. But we have not issued a paper note. The United States Treasury has not issued a paper note since 1981. Those notes are digital. They're actually kind of a cryptocurrency. It's an encrypted digital entry on a ledger, computer ledger maintained by the Treasury and the Federal Reserve. So we control. They own them, but we control them because they're on our computer system. So now the court appoints a trustee, and we award the $1.4 trillion of Chinese holdings to the victims of COVID-19 in settlement of the lawsuit. Now, people say, well, you're confiscating. It's not confiscation. This is due process of law. You would have a trial. You'd have a trustee or conservator or someone. But don't say you can't collect the money from China because we already have the money. It's just a question of what we do with it. And then people say you'll destroy the bond market. Like, no, you won't. You'll create a shortage of supply. The prices will go up, interest rates will go down. I mean, the dealers will love it, right? Because all of a sudden, 1.4 trillion comes off the market. Okay, where am I going to get my treasuries from my insurance portfolios? And people say, well, this would never happen. I'm like, you don't study history. The United States does this over and over. Talk to the Iranians, the North Koreans, the Syrians, the Venezuelans, anybody we don't like. This is how we got Bayer aspirin. We took it from the Germans in World War I. It was part of Bayer AG, and we just took it. We got American Bayer aspirin. So the U.S. is really good at it. We know how to do it, and it's not even that hard to do. So if I were China, I'd watch my step a little bit, because your 1.4 trillion of reserves might just disappear.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
What to do in such a situation? Inform yourself and keep your financial education strong. We from the Compact Group offer our loyal subscribers a free educational portal with first-hand monetary, financial, and economic knowledge. Enter our invite-only Insider Club by clicking the link below. You will get access to first-class information far earlier than the rest. We have prepared a special deal for all our members, where you can access a giant pool of Robert Kiyosaki's financial wisdom for just $1. To find out more, simply click the link below and join our Insider Club absolutely free. But there is more you can and should do. Build up several streams of income. More and more people realize that they have to take their future in their own hands, but they don't know how and where to start. We from Compact offer our Insider Club members unique opportunities. Strengthen your financial muscle and get the edge. Click the link below. Become part of our free Insider Club. No financial obligations. But there's one important thing you have to know. You have to become active. So do it now. Become active, and see you on the other side.